agents were giving them just like huge package deals.
My name is Melissa Feuchtinger. I'm an LA native, born and raised, and I'm an assistant director in the Directors Guild of America. I'm from Los Angeles. I actually started in the film industry when I was 3 years old. I was an actress in commercials. I did that for about 6 years or so, and then I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, but instead I went into the path of producing. So I went to film school, I went to NYU, and then I graduated and started training to become an assistant director. I was a DGA trainee, and then I joined the Guild 2 years ago, so I've been working as assistant director for 2 years. Never really have an inclination to quit, but there are days where I come home and I cry because I had to deal with, some guy on set who was mean to me and who took advantage of, the fact that I'm young, took advantage of the fact that I'm a female, and, went behind my back to, make a different decision to talk to the director or talk to my boss behind my back to do something different because he didn't trust what I was doing. When at the end of the day, as an assistant director, I just want to get the day done. If we all go home, that means I did my job well. I want us all to go home. I want us all to see our families, see our dogs, see our kids. I want us all to enjoy our lives because, it's bigger than just making a TV show. It's bigger than just making a movie.
I'm Michelle Seaman. I'm a casting director, and I got into casting through a long, crooked path. I first went to the University of Georgia, studied journalism, thought I wanted to be in advertising and public relations, so I started there. And after a year of submitting my resume, I finally got an internship on Shameless in casting. And I was really excited. I called for the interview and I told them that I lived in LA already. Did not. I lived in Atlanta. And they were like, oh, great, when will you be here? I was on the internet looking at the cheapest flights, and I said, I'll be there in a week. And got an interview, got the job, moved everything. This would be my 9th year, going into, 9 years in May, I think, or in the summer. And it feels like it. It's been a long journey.
There's a really interesting shift on set. You still hear the obnoxious joke, the really sexist joke, someone making a comment towards, an actress who's scantily clad on set because it's, part of her character. Only now it's followed with the stupid, well, I guess I can't say that anymore. So there is still a lot of the sexism and kind of gross behavior by men on set, mostly because I'm still working with a lot of older white males. I think once those people finally retire, we'll get rid of that. But until, they say something that's worth bringing up to HR, I think a lot of people are just going to let it happen and let it continue. I think the sexual harassment classes are definitely useful, but they're very over the top. It's always a very ridiculous scenario where you see in the video some boss who's inappropriately massaging their employee. It's not so much of the nuance, small comments or, just, I don't know, the snide comments we get from people in the camera department when, an actress comes in just wearing a bra or whatever. It's that's not something that we really discuss in those videos. They give these very exaggerated examples so that people understand it better. But sexual harassment is a very personal experience. What someone may say is flattering is offensive to another person. So I think because it's so nuanced, it's not necessarily helpful.
So I kind of like that we come in so early when it's just words on a page at that point. And even the writers and directors are still kind of feeling out what they want it to look like. So we get to be a part of that. You have to have business savvy. You have to be able to make a deal. You have to be able to negotiate. You have to be able to communicate really well. You have to write and speak and direct. You also have to be the liaison between your film crew and your filmmakers and the studio and the actors. So there's just so many facets to it. And then, of course, the creative process. So I think that draws women to the field because it's just constantly changing and you're never doing the same thing.
I think we're at about 70 to 80% male, 30% women. It depends per department. Hair, makeup, wardrobe, those departments are predominantly female, or at least 50-50 male to female. Most of the script supervisors I've worked with have been females. A lot of the AD departments, the assistant directors and the PAs, they're about 50-50 male to female. But when you get into the crafts departments like camera, grip, and electric, those are predominantly male still. Most of our directors are male, and I think a lot of the executives and writers on shows are still male.
The ratio of men to women in casting directing is pretty lopsided. It's mostly women. I think I've been told that originated from the studio system because they, back in the day, did not have nearly as much power. It was mostly more of like a research job and a job that required a lot of good people skills. They tended to hire women who would work under the men executives in the studio system. And then it started with Marion Doherty, who's a legendary casting director around that time, becoming independent casting directors became the norm.
I tend to be stern with a lot of my colleagues just to earn the respect because I'm a younger assistant director. But the second that I'm stern, I'm then being compared to the other female assistant directors that I work with. If I'm stern and I behave exactly the same as, a male assistant director, then suddenly I'm the bitch, I'm the mean person. You can't really win as a woman on set. Either you're too kind and people push you over, or you're too mean and, you're on your period or you're PMSing or whatever. I definitely am second guessed more than a man would be. I think that anytime I make a decision or want to do something that's more cost effective or efficient, I'm doing so for my bosses. I'm doing so because I'm the director's team. I'm not doing so because I'm taking advantage of the fact that I may be running set at the time or filling in for my boss. But because I'm young, because I'm a woman, they're always going to say, is that really the best thing that we should be doing? And I usually have to give more reasoning than if my boss were to say, we're going to do this next and that's it, I'm putting my foot down. He never gets questioned. I always get questioned.
We've been fighting for a long time, casting directors, for finally to be unionized, which I think happened in the 70s or 80s. And whereas all the other fields had been unionized way longer, and they have been getting a lot of the benefits that the casting directors are still fighting for.
Female directors are still working their way into more productions than male directors are, and so they are very cautious. They tend to get more coverage than male directors.
Working with women directors is definitely a different experience, mostly though because I feel like women are pretty amazing at not compromising on what's important to them, whereas I feel like a lot of the men will go towards the money a little bit more, or what will put butts in the seats, where I've worked with some women who have so much integrity and will, do whatever it takes to get the film or the show that they want made.
Male directors can kind of come in and say, I know exactly how I'm going to cut this episode together, and so I'm going to cover it thusly. I'm not going to be in the wide shot for longer than 5 seconds into the scene, and so I'm going to just, shoot those 5 seconds, cut, go into coverage, do whatever I have to do. Whereas the women, everything is second guess. So they're going to over cover the scene. They're going to cover the wide all the way through the scene. Everyone's POVs, 2 shots, singles, everything. They're going to shoot the scene for hours and hours and hours, just so when they get to the cutting room and, the producers are with them, they feel like they're covered. They feel like they have everything, even though they might go into shooting the scene knowing what they're going to cover. On one of the sets that I worked with, there was a male first AD and a female first AD. And I'm a second AD. So I work with that AD. We work together to make sure that everything is running smoothly, running effectively, etc. On that set, because it was a show that had been going on for many seasons, there's everyone's very comfortable. Everyone jokes around, they're having a good time. I could joke around with one of the first ADs, I could joke around with anybody on set, and, it'd be normal. No one would say anything, but one day I was joking around with the female first AD, and one of the camera people said that we were being loud and obnoxious. And I actually said to him directly, would you have said that to my boss? Would you have said this to the male first AD? And he had no answer. And the thing is, women are always going to be seen as obnoxious, we don't belong there, we're loud, we're annoying. And it's very frustrating because I worked really hard. I was a trainee for 3 years. I've been in this industry for 5 years, which isn't that long, but I've been working steadily since I got out of school. At no point did I work my way to the top because I'm someone's kid or I'm someone's cousin or whatever, because I'm friends with an actor. I had to work my way up. I had to interview for all my jobs. And so it's really frustrating when I can go to set and behave just like anybody else, but I'm treated differently because I'm a girl.
There have been times when I bring the same offer, I bring, the same notes on an offer, and it's not taken seriously. And then my boss, who's a male, does the exact same thing, and it's just taken as a good deal, as a word, taken as a word. Whereas I feel like sometimes they think they can get a better negotiation out of me just because I'm a woman.
I see light at the end of the tunnel for women in film. I think with the Me Too movement, we're getting rid of a lot of the trash of the industry. But again, I think that we need to work better at making sure these voices are heard.
Well, there's still a lot of bullshit, but it's kind of a grander scale bullshit. And here day to day, whereas, a lot of women who work on set do have to deal with a lot of stuff that the men don't have to deal with on set.
Someone that I was close with told me that he now is less inclined to hire women because he's afraid that they're going to have a case against other people that they work with. And that's not the solution. I think the solution is, again, to just create more diverse sets and make it an open environment.
Variety is what drives me to come into this job and work so hard. We work really long hours. We scour the earth for new talent. And it's exciting every day because it's always something new, and you could be finding every day that I watch or walk into the room with an actor, I could be seeing something magical happen. And it happens all the time, and you get to help these people make their dreams come true. And just seeing it like one-on-one, it's amazing. And it's really exciting. And I still think about every day, like, who I'm gonna see today and what they might do in the room, and especially working on a comedy, what someone might say, improving. It's just so exciting and makes the job worth all the long hours and hard work and bad deals and and not so much credit. It's still a wonderful, wonderful job and wonderful part of the process.
We don't need to do Dumbo. We don't need to do Aladdin. We need to do like a brand new project. We need to have more stories like what Netflix is doing. They're producing these TV movies or whatever, but at least they're original content. It's women directors, it's women writers, it's people finally being heard and being represented, and I think that's the way this industry needs to go. And it's unfortunate that it's only happening on Netflix because it's just creating a bigger tear and a bigger divide in the industry about streaming, actual theater, broadcast network television. But it's starting somewhere, and it's going to continue. I'm resourceful, efficient, and constantly hungry.
I'm dedicated, diligent, and creative.